I live in Dallas, Texas, and this story takes place 2 years ago, when I had just moved to a new job upstate, to a small town called Denton. On a tight budget, I had to rent an old, isolated house on the outskirts of town, on a street called Old Juniper Road. It was a large, colonial-style house that rented for a lot less than other houses. When I first went to check it out, the owner told me that the house was rarely rented for long. It was too quiet, he said. I thought that was a polite way of saying the house was a little creepy. But I needed a place, and it was the best option I had at the time. The first day I moved in, everything felt normal. The house was clean, the electricity and water were on, and although the hardwood floors creaked when I walked on them, I figured that was normal for a house that old. The first night, I slept soundly, but the second night, I started to feel weird. Around 2 a.m., I woke up to the sound of someone strolling down the hallway. The footsteps were slow, heavy, and distinct, like old boots hitting wooden boards. I sat up in bed, holding my breath. I thought it might be a rat or a stray dog. But the sound stopped right outside my bedroom door. I forced myself to open the door quickly. The hallway was dark, empty. No one was there. I checked the entire house with the flashlight on my phone. All the doors were locked. No sign of anyone came in. I went back to bed, trying to think rationally. Maybe the wood was expanding from the cold night. But that wasn't the last time. Day after day, the footsteps kept coming. Always at night. Always when I was already asleep. Sometimes just in the hallway. Sometimes all the way to the living room. But when I went out of my room to check, everything was silent. What really started to scare me was one night when I woke up from a nightmare. In the dream, I was standing in the middle of the hallway, but I wasn't myself. I felt like I was being used by someone else. I strolled to my bedroom, opened the door, and saw myself sleeping in my bed. I woke up gasping for breath. My body was drenched in cold sweat. And the most disturbing thing, my bedroom door was wide open. I was very sure I had closed it before going to bed. The next day, I asked my office friend, Brian, to come and stay over. I didn't tell him about the incident, because I was afraid of being thought of as weird. But that night, around 1 a.m., Brian woke me up. His face was pale with fear. "Bro, there was a sound of someone laughing in the hallway," he said. We both sat still, listening intently. And sure enough, there was a slight sound, like a soft laugh, like a child's voice, but soft and strange. The sound came from the direction of the living room. Brian immediately stood up and locked the bedroom door from the inside. "I'm not staying here anymore," he said in a serious tone. The next morning, he left early without having breakfast. And that night, I slept with the lights on. The next few days, I started looking for information about the house. And finally, I found an old article from 1994 in the local archives. The title was, "Man Found Dead in Abandoned Home on Old Juniper Road." It turned out that the house had been empty for a few years after a man named Richard Marshall was found dead in the basement. The police concluded it was a suicide, but the neighbors said Richard had mental health problems, often talked to himself, and had said there was someone living in his attic. But when we checked, the attic was empty. That night, I couldn't sleep. I felt like someone was watching me. I tried to pretend not to care. But around 3 a.m., my bedroom light suddenly went out by itself. I woke up and tried to turn it back on, but it flickered on and off, then went out completely. Then, I heard something I had never heard before. Not footsteps, not laughter, but breathing, heavy, from inside my closet. I approached slowly. The breathing continued, heavy and slow. I slowly opened the closet door, and it was empty. But the breathing sound was still there. Like, coming from the wall behind the closet. I don't know exactly what happened that night. But from then on, I always slept with the lights on, and I started wearing a headset with white noise. A month later, I moved out. I couldn't take it anymore. The house was quiet and cold. It felt like someone was living in it with me every night. A few months later, the house appeared again in online rental ads. The rent was getting cheaper. Sometimes I still dream about that house. And the weird thing is that I'm back there in my dreams. But I'm not going in as myself anymore. I'm just standing in the hallway, staring at the bedroom door. And slowly, it opens by itself. Before we dive into the next story, if you're here for the first time, please consider subscribing to our channel and clicking the bell icon so you won't miss any of our upcoming stories. Your support truly encourages us and helps this channel continue to grow. And don't forget to share these stories with your friends and family. Thank you. I had just finished moving into my new place outside Flagstaff, Arizona. It wasn't a big house, but it sat on the edge of a forest reserve. And that kind of peace was exactly what I needed. After living in the chaos of Phoenix for years, I wanted something quiet, something grounded. I work from home as a freelance editor, so I didn't really need to be close to a city. The house was old, built sometime in the 70s, but it had been updated enough to feel comfortable. Still, there were little things, like how the lights in the hallway would flicker sometimes, or how the water pipes groaned when you used the upstairs bathroom. I chalked it up to age. Nothing serious. At least, that's what I thought. It was my third night there when something odd happened. I had just finished dinner and was sitting down to relax on the back porch, enjoying a beer and listening to the sounds of the forest. Crickets, wind, and distant owls. Then, suddenly, silence. Complete silence. The kind that presses against your ears. I felt a chill despite the warm evening. Something about that silence was unnatural. I went inside, locked the door behind me, and tried to brush it off. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I pulled the blinds shut and went to bed early. Around 2 a.m., I woke up to the sound of footsteps. Not on the floor inside, but on the gravel outside my bedroom window. Slow, deliberate. My heart started racing. I reached the nightstand, grabbed my phone, and turned on the flashlight. I hesitated for a second. Then I walked over to the window and pulled the curtain aside. Nothing. Just the empty backyard, dimly lit by the moon. I waited and listened. Nothing. Maybe an animal? A deer? I convinced myself of that and crawled back into bed. I didn't sleep much after that. The next day, I installed security cameras, motion activated, with night vision. I positioned them around the house, one in front, one facing the backyard, and one overlooking the side path near my bedroom. I wanted peace of mind. 2 nights later, I got an alert on my phone around 3:12 a.m. Motion detected. I was already half awake when the notification came in. I opened the app, expecting to see a raccoon or a fox. What I saw chilled me. A man, standing at the edge of the forest, facing the house. He wasn't moving. He was just watching. I couldn't make out his face clearly, but he was tall, wearing a hoodie, and his posture was unsettling, rigid, like he was bracing for something. I called the police immediately. It took the police about 15 minutes to arrive. By then, whoever it was had vanished. They swept the area and found footprints in the dirt, but nothing else. They told me to keep my doors locked and to call again if anything else happened. I barely slept that night. The feeling of being watched was back, stronger than ever. Over the next few days, I tried to resume normal life. I worked, I cooked, I went for hikes. But every night, I felt the weight of my eyes on me. And every night, around 2 or 3 a.m., the camera would pick up movement. But by the time I checked, it was always too late. The footage would just show trees swaying or brief glimpses of a shadow slipping out of frame. One night, I stayed up. I turned off all the lights and sat on the living room floor, watching the feed in real time. Hours passed. Nothing. Just after 3:30 a.m., the backyard camera glitched for a second, and then came back. He was there again. Closer this time, standing just beyond the tree line. Still as stone. I froze. My phone buzzed again. Motion detected on the side path camera. I tapped the screen. He was walking toward my bedroom window. I grabbed a flashlight and ran to the back door, flipping on the porch light as I burst outside. But the yard was empty. Not even footprints this time. It was like he vanished into thin air. I didn't go back to bed. I stayed up until the sun came up. Then, I packed a bag and drove into town. I needed answers. At the local diner, I struck up a conversation with the waitress, an older woman who'd lived in the area her whole life. I told her where I lived and asked if she knew anything weird about that property. Her expression changed immediately. She leaned in and lowered her voice. That place used to belong to the Dunley family. They lived out there for decades. But in the late 90s, one of the sons, something happened to him. He went missing. Search parties looked for weeks, never found a body. Some folks say he wandered off into the woods and died. Others say he never left. I asked what she meant. There's a story, she said. The Dunley's son comes back sometimes, walks the edge of the forest, watching, waiting. I didn't know what to think. Ghost story? Local legend? Just something to scare newcomers? Still, it gave me chills. I thanked her and drove back, not entirely sure what to believe. That night, I stayed up again with a baseball bat beside me. I watched the cameras. Midnight passed. Then 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Nothing. At 3:03 a.m., my phone vibrated. Motion detected. Backyard camera. He was standing on the porch now, right at the edge of the steps, head tilted slightly, staring directly at the camera. I gripped the bat and stepped out, shouting into the night. "Who are you? What do you want?" No response. I scanned the yard. Empty. When I looked back at the screen, he was gone. That was the last time I saw him. The next morning, I found muddy footprints on the porch. They led to the edge of the house and stopped. No return prints, no signs of anyone leaving. I considered moving, but something held me back. Maybe it was pride, maybe curiosity. But deep down, I knew the truth. I wasn't alone out there. Something, or someone, was watching. And for whatever reason, it hadn't crossed the line yet. But I feel it getting closer. Every night. Closer. My name is Chris. I'm 33, single, and live in a small apartment in Portland, Oregon. By trade, I'm a freelance photographer, primarily for weddings, some real estate work, and the occasional outdoor shoot for adventure magazines. Nothing really exciting. But what happened last year changed how I see the world forever. It still gives me chills just to think about it. It started when I got a message from an old friend, Max, whom I hadn't talked to in years. We went to college together, then lost touch when he moved to a remote part of Northern California. He told me he had bought a large property, an old estate in the mountains, and was converting it into an artist's retreat. He wanted me to come for a few days, take promotional photos, and maybe do branding work for the website. It sounded peaceful, a break from the noise of the city. I said yes. The drive took nearly 10 hours. Once I passed the last gas station and cell tower, I knew I was in the middle of nowhere. The estate, as it turned out, was enormous. A 3-story house built sometime in the 1900s, surrounded by dense forest. The trees were so thick that they blocked out most of the sky. The house had seen better days, but it had character. Arched doorways, winding staircases, antique furniture covered in white cloth. Max greeted me at the door. He looked different, thinner, paler than I remembered, and a little anxious. But he smiled when he saw me and gave me a big hug. "You made it. This place is perfect for what I have in mind," he said, leading me inside. I was supposed to stay for 4 days. That evening, after I settled into one of the guest rooms on the second floor, Max and I sat down for dinner in the dining room. The table was set with mismatched plates and silverware, and Max had prepared a simple meal, spaghetti with homemade sauce and a bottle of red wine. We sat by the fireplace a bit longer after dinner, the conversation shifting from old memories to the strange quietness of the house. I mentioned how isolated the place felt. "Yeah, it gets creepy at night sometimes," Max admitted, swirling the last of his wine. "But you get used to it. After a while, it feels peaceful." I glanced at the old grandfather clock in the corner. It ticked with a low mechanical rhythm. "You ever have any weird experiences here?" Max chuckled softly. "Weird, how?" "I don't know. Noises, shadows, that kind of thing." He shrugged. "Sometimes I hear things at night. It could be the wind, or it could be the animals. But nah, nothing too bad." I nodded, then excused myself. The long drive had worn me out. That night, after brushing my teeth and settling into the guest room again, I lay on the bed, scrolling through my phone a bit, though there was no signal. Eventually, I put it down and turned off the light. It took me a while to fall asleep, but when I did, it was deep. That is, until something woke me. A sound. Faint tapping. My eyes opened slowly, adjusting to the dark. The tapping continued, soft and steady, like fingers on the glass. I sat up, staring at the window. My heart started to beat faster. I pushed the blanket off me and walked slowly across the wooden floor, every step making the floor creak under my feet. I reached the window and looked out. Nothing. Just the tall trees outside were swaying gently under the moonlight. But then I saw it. Movement. Just past the edge of the tree line. A figure. Barely visible. It was standing still. Almost too still. I stepped back, confused. The air in the room felt colder suddenly. Then, the figure took a step forward. That was enough. I closed the curtain and backed away from the window, my mind racing. Was someone out there? Was this one of Max's friends? A local? I left the room and padded down the hall to Max's room. I knocked lightly. He answered a few seconds later, rubbing his eyes. "What's wrong?" "There's someone outside," I said. He blinked. "What do you mean?" "I saw a figure in the woods, standing just past the trees." Max looked unsure, but he followed me back to my room. I opened the curtain and pointed, but the figure was gone. We both stood there for a while, staring at the empty woods. "Maybe you imagined it," he said softly. "Maybe," I replied, though I didn't believe that. Max went back to sleep, but I couldn't. I lay awake until the sun came up. The next day, I tried to shake it off. Maybe it really was just my imagination. A shadow, a trick of the light. But I couldn't stop thinking about how still the figure was. Not like a person. More like something pretending to be one. I told Max I hadn't slept well. He laughed it off, saying the woods mess with your head sometimes. "You spend enough time here," he said, and the silence starts talking back. I ensured the window was locked and the curtain shut tight that night. I left a small lamp on in the corner. I wasn't going to sleep in the dark again. I lay in bed, scrolling through my photo gallery, just trying to distract myself. Then I heard it. Not the tapping. Something worse. A voice, It started faint, like wind through the trees. But then, clear as day, just outside the window, I heard it whisper, "Let me in." I froze. I turned off my phone screen and sat up, listening. Silence. Then again, closer this time, barely more than a breath. "Let me in. Please." I stood slowly. My whole body was cold. I stepped toward the window, pulled the curtain aside. No one. The yard was empty. But I knew something was there. I let the curtain fall and turned. The door behind me was opening on its own. I know I shut it. I stood there, frozen, my heart slamming in my chest. I whispered, "Max?" No response. I grabbed the flashlight from the nightstand and stepped into the hallway. The whole house was silent. Too silent. I walked to Max's room and knocked. Nothing. I opened the door. The bed was untouched. He wasn't there. I called out louder, "Max?" Still no answer. I checked the bathroom, the kitchen, and the living room. Empty. The house felt wrong, like it was holding its breath. I opened the basement door and called again, but no one answered. That's when I noticed. The front door was unlocked. I always lock it. I stepped outside onto the porch, scanning the yard with the flashlight. And that's when I saw it again. The figure, closer than before. Standing just beyond the edge of the porch light. Not moving. Not breathing. Just there. Its body was dark, its face completely hidden in shadow, but I could feel its eyes on me. I shouted, "Who are you?" It didn't react, not even a twitch. That's when I realized this wasn't someone lost in the woods. This was something that belonged in the woods. I backed away, went back inside, locked every door, every window. I sat on the couch with the flashlight on my lap and waited all night. I didn't sleep, not a second. When the morning finally came, I could barely think straight. My hands were shaking as I packed my things. I had to get out. Max appeared behind the house as I carried my bags to the car. His clothes were wrinkled, his hair a mess, and he looked like he hadn't slept either. "Where were you last night?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He looked confused and said, "I could ask you the same thing." "What are you talking about?" "I heard you walking around and calling my name. I thought you were sleepwalking or something. I didn't want to wake you." "I wasn't sleepwalking. I was looking for you. Your bed was empty." He frowned. "I slept in the basement. It's cooler down there." I stared at him. He was either lying or something was pretending to be me. I didn't say anything else, just told Max I had to go. He didn't argue. As I pulled out of the long gravel driveway, I checked the rearview mirror one last time. And there it was. The figure, standing at the tree line again, closer than ever, watching me. A few days after I got home, Max emailed me. Just a simple message. "You okay?" I stared at the screen for a long time. I wanted to reply. I really did. But I couldn't bring myself to type a single word. Because deep down, I wasn't okay. 2 weeks later, I checked again. The property was listed for sale. Abandoned. No forwarding address. No contact info. No Max. Like he vanished. I tried calling him. Disconnected. I contacted old college friends, but no one had heard from him in months. Some thought he had gone off-grid. Others didn't even remember him. And now, sometimes, late at night, when the world goes quiet, I hear tapping. Soft and steady. Always at the same time. Always from the same place. My window. I live on the 3rd floor now. No balcony, no fire escape. Just that same soft tap, like fingers brushing the glass. And sometimes, when I'm half asleep, I hear it again. That whisper. Let me in. So I leave the light on. And I never open the window after dark, no matter how hot it gets. Because something followed me home from those woods. And I don't think it ever left.